Hi there, I'm Anushka, mum to my 1-year-old son, and today I will be talking about this book, The Montessori Toddler, A Parent's Guide to Raising a Curious and Responsible Human Being by Simone Davies. So, The Montessori Toddler is a recap, a summary, and interpretation of how to apply Maria Montessori's Montessori method to raising a toddler. A number of friends have recommended this book to me, and so I decided that I would read it. I did read it in a combination of reading the paper book and listening to the audio book on Hoopla because I'm often doing things with my hands and can't sit down to read. So I would read a couple of chapters from the book, and then when I have time, be folding clothes and listening to the continuation from the audiobook, and then switch back to the book when I had time, and so forth. I do recommend reading the book specifically if you have time, because it does have a lot of cool illustrations. For example, here, how to set an activity up, showing how they would set up a tray, like a wooden tray with very simple, the paint, the brush, a cloth to wipe everything, things like that. It has really nice pictures and illustrations in this book, which are really pretty to look at. I feel like they're kind of, Japanese inspired in a way. I really like the way that they've done the illustrations in this book, which I should give credit to the illustrator. I'll put that in the comments. Let me have a look and find out. So the things that I really liked about this book is it's really easy to understand. It's very clearly and simply written. I did try reading the original book by Maria Montessori, and I found that so hard to follow. It's very old in English. So I really appreciate that this is very clearly explained for people in the current times to read. Like, look at this beautiful way that she's drawn. The illustrator has drawn this image of a shelf where they've got a few simple toys for a child to pick up and look at and just focus in on things, which brings me to the main things that I really got out of this book were about creating the right environment for a child for them to then engage with and interact with the environment. So there's a lot of focus on setting up the environment. The second thing is how you let the child interact with the environment. And then the third thing is how you interact with the child and the environment. So it's like a triangle. You, the child, the environment, and the arrows go all ways of how each thing interacts with the other. So before I read this book, we had a lot of toys in my child's playroom. We've been fortunate to have friends and family give us a lot of toys, though we ourselves have not bought a lot for him. And it was getting overwhelming for us, so I can only imagine how overstimulating and overwhelming it was for him, being able to really focus and having to wade through the sea of toys to try and figure out what he wanted to play with or engage with. And after reading this book, or halfway through really, I decided to set up a toy rotation. So I put away probably like 3/4, more than that, of his toys, and I set up a rotation where every week I will rotate his books and different groups of toys. So he has, for example, a wagon, a scooter, and an RV. And we bought the wagon for him on Facebook Marketplace. He got given the scooter as his first birthday present, and then the RV as well from a friend for a first birthday present. So I will have the wagon now as a only outside toy, and he takes it around the backyard, and I rotate the scooter and the RV because they're both things he can push and move, and he can sit on the scooter. Similarly, I will rotate out his soft toys, so only have like 3 or 4 soft toys out at a time, and I keep the rest away, and I'll rotate them each week. If he has like, I think 6 cars, and so I'll rotate like maybe 2 or 3 out at a time and put the rest away. So in that way, I make sure that there's only a few things out, and put the rest away. And I reserve his ball pit balls for just special occasions, like when my husband and I have a phone appointment and we can't be giving him our undivided attention. I'll bring out the ball pit balls and the RV, so that he has something that he hasn't seen in a while that he really loves to play with, and he'll just be running around the room playing with that for at least buys us about 10 to 15 minutes sometimes. um, and so that's one thing about, like, I guess the environment, like creating a very curated environment that is at a child's level. We have very low bookshelves in his room with his books there that are at his height, so he can pick them up, and he'll go to his room when we change his diaper there, pick up some books and bring that back to his playroom because he wants to read these even though they're not in his rotation. So that's at his height. All of his shelves in the toy room are at his height. We have the Pickler triangle, this soft play set that I'm currently sitting on as a couch. That's all made for his size, and he's able to engage with this environment that is simple and like clear things that have a place that it goes back to, and able to really pick up on certain toys and decide he wants to focus on this, and it's really improved his ability to focus on certain things. I would say the second thing that I've really changed in my approach in dealing with him is not dealing with him, but in how he interacts with the environment, is kind of stepping back a lot and letting him figure out how to use different toys. Like sometimes he comes up with really creative ways of how to use things that I would never, that's not the original intended purpose of the toy, but there's no harm in what he's doing. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's what you want to do with this. Like, for example, he has an object permanence box that we have borrowed from a friend, and he has another thing from a friend, which is it's like a set with 6 holes in it, a wooden board with 6 holes, and it has these pegs that go in that are like little carrots, and you hit the carrots with a hammer and makes the other side go up. So that's obviously the purpose of this, and that's the purpose of the object permanence boxes with the ball that goes in. But he's been taking the carrots and putting them in the box with the object permanence box instead of the ball. He's also been taking scarves and hiding them in there. He has been finding my socks, running around with them, putting them in his fire truck. So there's different ways that he engages with things that are quite creative and not necessarily something that I would ever have thought of doing. So it's really fun to see how he chooses to use things. He also has a little backpack that he got as a birthday present, that's quite small, has a dinosaur kind of spikes on it. And he's been taking his balls and putting them in the backpack and then walking around with his backpack feeling very important. So yeah, ways that I wouldn't have thought of using these toys, and it's really cool to see how creative he's been. He has a little anatomically correct baby doll, a boy doll, and he will put the doll in his tunnel, which I wouldn't have thought of doing. So that's another aspect of how I let him interact with the environment, be less prescriptive. And I would say the third thing is the way that I interact with him in the environment that I'm currently working on changing is, I've grown up with people and parents who have always said, oh, good job, well done. And I think that, and maybe just my nature, I have really like seeked praise and validation as like an affirmation of myself. And the Montessori method talks about not giving a child praise all the time, like, oh, well done, good job, because that leads to extrinsic motivations to do things. And instead we want to really instill them with intrinsic motivation. So like a desire to do something for themselves and the feeling good about themselves that comes from within. And for this reason, they say, don't say well done or good job, but say, oh, you did that. Like, I'll say E for my son. So E, you put the baby in the tunnel, or rather than saying, well done, you put the ball in the hole. Be like, oh, E, you put the ball in the hole. And I think then they'll recognize, like, yeah, I did that. And they have this sense of like fulfillment and self-worth that comes from within when they do things and they succeed in doing something they've been trying to do and master a skill, rather than doing something and looking to the adult or the parent or some other person for validation and praise. Because then, she says in the book, kind of raise these like praise hungry little monsters who are just seeking praise constantly. So I thought that was a really good point, and I'm really working on trying not to say well done and good job to him, because that's something that I did hear about this when he was probably about 5 months old from a family friend, and I was trying at that point. But since he started walking and talking, we've been around so many family members and friends who have been saying good job, very good, well done, that I've kind of adopted saying this again. So I need to relearn and train myself out of not saying well done and good job, but saying like good choice, oh, you did that, rather than that. The other thing I just wanted to share was trying to hold back from commenting on everything. I feel like sometimes I'm this running soliloquy in the background, just talking like this, background tape that's playing while my son is doing things. Like, I'll comment on everything he's doing. And they talk about, like, sometimes the child doesn't need you to comment. Trust that they know what they're doing and they're just going to do it. But if they turn and look to you, then you could comment. So, for example, I would say, oh, E put the ball in the object permanent, in the hole. Oh, now you open the drawer. You took the ball out of the drawer. Oh, E threw the ball into the tunnel. And I'll comment on everything that he does, and I honestly thought I was doing a good thing because I was commenting on the things that he's doing, and I was like, oh, this is self-affirming. He's hearing what he's doing, and this is going to make him feel good about himself. But I think that's too far. Sometimes just sit and watch and be in silence, and when they look to you to be like, I'm doing something, is this right? Is this okay? Like, have you seen what I've done? Then you can comment on it and be like, oh, you put the ball in the hole. And then just wait. So these are a few things that I've really picked up from this book. And I have also reduced the amount of electronic toys that he has. We have never bought him any, but a lot of family friends buy him electronic toys. And I feel bad to take them all away. So I've taken most of them away, and I'll just put like 1 or 2 out at a time. And most of the time now, he doesn't even interact. Like, I don't even turn it on. It's just out there as a toy. And he forgets that it has like a different function that it does, because he'll play with it in this other purpose. Because having these electronic toys, as Maria Montessori says, can be very prescriptive. It has a set purpose and function that the toy does, and it reduces the room for imagination and creativity that comes with playing with toys that are not electronic, with flashing lights and music and buttons that you push. So let me know what you think of this book. I really enjoyed reading it. I will probably get it out from the library again and reference it. But I learned a lot from it, and I highly recommend this to parents of babies and toddlers. There is also a Montessori baby book that I've been meaning to read. Maybe by the time we have our next child, I will read that one. But for now, the toddler one has been super useful for me. Thank you.